Welcome to Cinema Bites, your go-to for movie recaps in a flash. Big twists, epic moments, all in just minutes. The last thing we saw in the final season was that Seong managed to win the game, but in doing so, everyone who participated with him died, including his lifelong friend. After finishing the game, Seong took the large sum of money and returned to his life. However, when he returned, everything had changed. His mother had passed away, his daughter had left and traveled to America. But Seong didn't give up and decided to travel to America to be with his daughter. On his way to the airport, he witnessed a scene that made him change his mind and stay in Korea. The scene was simply Seong seeing the game's recruiter, who had previously brought him into the game, spending time with someone in the subway and trying to convince him to join the game, just as he had done with Seong before. This enraged Seong, prompting him to chase after the recruiter, but the recruiter escaped. At that moment, Seong decided to stay in Korea to track down the recruiter and the game organizers and put an end to the sick game once and for all. The new season begins exactly where the last season ended. After these events, we see Seong leaving the airport and receiving a call from an unknown person, presumably the game's recruiter, who tells him that it would have been better if he had boarded the plane and left Korea for good. Seong realizes that he won't leave and decides to stay until he finds the recruiter and the game organizers to eliminate them. He ends the call. Meanwhile, we see Officer Hwang. He's the officer who infiltrated the game to look for his brother, only to discover that his brother was actually running the game. At the end of the last season, Hwang was shot and fell into the water, leading us to believe he had died. However, we now learn that Hwang survived and is currently in the hospital after being rescued. Hwang later reported to the police about the mysterious island in the middle of the water, where people play games for the poor, and those who lose are killed. He asked the police to locate the island. They searched for it but couldn't find it, leading them to think Hwang was crazy. Eventually, they demoted him back to being a traffic officer. Despite this, we learn that Hwang hasn't given up. He frequently visits a captain named Park, the man who saved him from the water. Hwang and Park sail near the island in search of it, but so far they haven't found anything. On the other hand, we see Seong living alone in an abandoned hotel for 2 years since deciding not to travel to America. One day, Seong hears a knock on his door and opens it to find the game master standing there, wearing his terrifying mask and holding the heads of 2 people. These 2 individuals are Seong's friend, who had killed him in the game, and another person who owed Seong money before he entered the game. We learn that Seong, after returning from the game, gave all his money to Mr. Kim, who had lent him the money. Furthermore, Seong worked with Kim and his men to search subway stations for the game recruiter to find him and learn how to reach the game organizers and take revenge on them. For 2 years, Kim and his men have been searching for the recruiter but haven't found him. Seong now gives Kim more money than usual to increase his manpower and intensify the search. Seong even promises Kim that if they find the recruiter, he will give him a full $1,000,000,000. Kim agrees and gathers a large group of men, briefing them on the mission to search subway stations for the game recruiter. The search continues, with Seong monitoring their efforts. One day, Kim and his assistant Seok are sitting in the subway when they spot the recruiter convincing someone to join the game. The recruiter hands the person a card to enter the game and leaves. Kim and Seok immediately contact Seong to inform him that they've found the recruiter and send him the location. Seong asks them to wait for him. Meanwhile, the person who was approached by the recruiter receives a phone call from someone named He, but doesn't answer. He begins to contemplate whether to join the game. At the same time, we see He at a gynecologist's clinic. When the person doesn't answer her call, she becomes frustrated and leaves the clinic, holding a game entry card herself. She also considers joining the game. Back to Kim and Seok, who continue following the recruiter until they see him arrive at a park filled with many homeless people. The recruiter approaches one of the homeless individuals and gives them 2 choices: to take a loaf of bread or play a game of chance that could win them money. Most people choose the game of chance and end up losing. The recruiter then takes the bread they lost and throws it on the ground. He addresses the crowd, saying that he didn't throw the bread away. They did when they chose to lose. He finishes his speech and stomps on the bread, showing no regard for it. In the end, he takes himself and leaves. And because, my friend, the representative doesn't do what he does to recruit someone into the game. The representative does this because he has become a crazy person due to working with the game's management, nothing more than that. Anyway, the representative then leaves the park and Kamo Seok follows him. As for Seong, at the same time, he was rushing at full speed toward Kamo Seok, but on the way, a police car stops him. 2 policemen step out of the car, one of them being Hwang. But Hwang doesn't approach Seong. Instead, he goes to the other officer with him, who then issues a ticket to Seong. Seong takes the ticket very casually and walks away. Meanwhile, the officer returns to Hwang and hands him the ticket. When Hwang sees that the person receiving the ticket is Seong, he goes crazy and decides to track him down, as he might lead him to the game. Anyway, we return once again to Kim and Seok, who decide to attack the representative and hold him until Seong arrives. This way, the representative won't escape. Indeed, they go to stop the representative, but they wish they hadn't, as the representative beats them up brutally. After a while, Kim and Seok regain consciousness and discover that the representative has kidnapped them to a strange place. Without any introductions, the representative tells them they will play a game of Russian roulette. This game, in short, involves a gun with one bullet in it. The gun is spun, and then they take turns shooting themselves. Whoever is unlucky enough to get the bullet will die. The representative keeps playing this game with them until he kills Kim. At that point, Seok becomes extremely terrified. The representative takes advantage of this and asks him who sent him after him. Seok reveals that it was Seong. The representative becomes happy and decides to go to Seong himself. Speaking of Seong, he arrives at the last place where Kim and Seok were, but he doesn't find them. Instead, he only finds traces of blood. He realizes that the representative has harmed them. Seok then leaves the place and returns to his hotel. Upon entering the hotel, he is surprised to find the representative in front of him. The representative says, "Why were you looking for me?" Seong tells him that he was looking for him to thank him for introducing him to the game and helping him win all the money he now has. The representative responds, "But I'm not the owner of the game." Seong asks him to take him to the game's owner since he is nothing more than a dog working for him. At that moment, the representative gets provoked and decides to tell his full story. He begins narrating his tale, revealing that a long time ago, he worked for the game and was one of the workers or soldiers present in the game itself, tasked with killing losers. The representative tells Seong that once his father participated in the game, and when his father lost, he had to kill him without a moment of regret, as the representative believes that all the poor people who participate in the game are scum and their deaths are insignificant, meaning they deserve it. The representative informs Seong that he wants to kill him now, but since they are both scum, in the end, he won't kill him. Instead, they will play a game of Russian roulette together. The representative pulls out his gun and starts playing the game with Seong. Each takes turns shooting themselves, hoping the single bullet in the gun will hit the other and kill them. In the end, the bullet hits the representative, and he finally dies, bringing relief. This means that Seong doesn't learn anything new about the game. On the other hand, we see that Hwang continues searching for Seong's car. He eventually discovers that the car is registered to a particular company. Hwang goes to the company's building and finds Kim there, meeting with his men. Hwang storms the building and stays there until he finds Kim's men inside. Hwang then speaks on the phone with someone and learns that Kim is the person Seong is searching for. But afterward, Kim disappears, meaning they must search for him, and Seok to locate him. At this point, Hwang realizes that Seong is looking for someone from the game and also learns his location. So, Hwang takes himself and goes to the hotel where Seong is staying. Hwang enters the hotel and eventually finds a room where Seok is tied up, left there by the representative earlier. Hwang unties Seok and leaves him there, searching the hotel until he finds Seong with the dead representative. Hwang leaves Seong, but after some time, Seong strikes Hwang on the head and takes him with him. Later, Seong asks who Seok is exactly. Seong learns that Seok is Kim's assistant. This is the first time they meet, but Seong doesn't do anything. Later, Hwang regains consciousness and finds himself tied up. Hwang interrogates Seong, asking who he is. Seong learns that Hwang is an officer and that they previously met in the game when Hwang pretended to be one of the game's soldiers. Hwang reveals that the reason he went to the game earlier was to find his brother, but he couldn't locate him. Hwang tells Seong that he met the game's leader or the person in charge. Of course, this person, my friend, is Hwang's brother, as we mentioned earlier. However, Hwang doesn't tell Seong this detail. He only informs him that he met the leader and that he is searching for the island where the game takes place. Based on this, they must search together to find the island and bring down those responsible for it. At this moment, Seong agrees wholeheartedly. Seong tells Hwang that he found a card with the representative. The card indicates that the representative was supposed to meet the game's leader at a specific location and time. Seong plans to meet the leader, capture him, and learn the game's location to destroy it forever. Hwang agrees to join Seong in this plan. Now, Seong has formed a small team consisting of Hwang, Seok, and himself. Seong takes them all to a room where he shows them a large amount of money. The money, my friend, is left over from the island's funds that Seong took from the game. He tells them that he will give them all this money or split it with them once the mission is complete. Everyone agrees, of course. Afterward, Seong takes them to another room in the hotel. This room is filled with weapons. Seong tells everyone that they need a few people skilled in using these weapons to assist them in their mission. Seok agrees and assures them that he will bring highly skilled individuals to join them. The next day, Seong goes to the house of his friend's mother, whose son died in the game, if you remember. Seong now sees his friend's mother living with a small child. This child is the brother of the pickpocket girl who died earlier, as we saw, my friend. After checking on them, Seong leaves and goes to a broker who knew the pickpocket. Earlier, he learns from the broker, who is her aunt, that the pickpocket's mother was released from prison, where she had been incarcerated. Seong now gives the broker the address of his friend's mother so that when the pickpocket's mother is out of prison, she can go and take her son from her. Later, Seong goes to the hotel where Wang and Seok are currently staying with him. Seok has brought many men to help with the mission, and we learn that all of them are former officers with high combat skills, which makes Seong happy because it means he can carry out his mission in the best way possible. After that, Seong brings in a doctor to remove one of his teeth and replace it with a prepared device. We'll understand why later, but for now, the next day, Seong, Wang, and Seok head to a place resembling a casino. This is supposedly where the representative was supposed to meet the leader. The casino is hosting a Korean party. Seong and the others learn that the leader planned to meet the representative here, disguised with a simple mask to conceal his identity. Seong and Seok enter the casino to search for the leader, leaving Wang outside. Shortly after, Wang notices two individuals dressed as game soldiers entering the casino, so he quickly follows them. One of these individuals goes to Seok and electrocutes him, knocking him out. The other approaches Seong and asks him to come with him. Seong complies and is taken by the soldier to a luxurious limousine. Seong gets in the car but can't see the driver. However, he notices a microphone in the car, and the leader speaks to Seong through it, asking him to forget about the game and live his life. Seong, of course, refuses. Meanwhile, Wang and the men Seok brought, led by Kim, pursue the car carrying Seong, aiming to reach the leader and his men to confront them. Suddenly, a game soldier appears and fires at Wang and Kim's cars, disabling them. Wang then contacts Seong to inform him of what happened and that they can't continue following him. Seong thinks for a moment and ultimately tells the leader he wants to rejoin the game. Seong does this so Wang can locate the island using the tracking device implanted in Seong's tooth. The leader agrees, and suddenly, a sedative gas fills the car, knocking Seong out. We then see that the leader was in the car from the start, separated from Seong by a partition, so Seong couldn't see him. On the other side, we meet a woman named Kang, who is revealed to be from North Korea. She smuggled herself into South Korea without her daughter, and her husband is deceased. Kang goes to the broker Seong had met earlier and asks him to search for her daughter in North Korea and try to bring her to South Korea. The broker agrees, even though he knows it's unlikely he'll succeed. Kang then goes to her job, where she works at birthday parties, dressing up in costumes like rabbits and playing with children. Kang's life is very difficult, and her mental state is even worse. She takes one of the game cards, and calls to request participation. Later, Kang goes to a location with shipping containers, enters one, and dresses in the game soldier uniform. We learn that Kang is participating in the game as one of the soldiers, but her motives are still unclear. The next day, Seong wakes up in the same game hall where he woke up at the start of the first season. He finds himself as player number 456, just like in the first game. After a while, a group of game soldiers and their leader, wearing a mask, enters and explains the game rules, which are the same as in the first season. Once a player enters the game, they must continue, and no player can withdraw. If a player wants to stop the game, a majority vote is required. This is new to everyone, and the leader explains that after each game, there will be a vote to decide whether to continue or stop. Many players begin to object to the leader's words. We are introduced to several characters, such as player 333 named Myung, who was once famous in Korea but recently promoted a suspicious and possibly illegal investment platform to his audience. We also meet player 230 named Soo, a former rapper who lost all his money following Myung's investment advice and is now addicted and somewhat unstable. Another player is number 100, who is 10 billion in debt, the most indebted among all the participants. Player 7, named Sick, is surprised to find his brother in the game as well, neither of them knowing the other would participate. Many other players are introduced, and everyone signs the game contracts and gets photographed, just like before. Seong coincidentally meets an old friend named Bai, and is shocked to see him there. Concerned for Bai's safety, Seong asks him to stay close during the game and not wander off, as Seong understands the dangers. The first game begins, which is red light, green light, as seen before. A large doll turns its head, and during this time, all players must run to the finish line. When the doll turns back and says, red light, motion sensors in its eyes activate. If anyone moves, they are shot and killed instantly. When the game starts, Seong discovers that the tracking device implanted in his tooth has been removed, realizing that it was taken out when he was sedated. Seong is terrified, knowing that no one will come to rescue him now. Seong is, in fact, scared for all these people who are dying. Seong speaks to them and tells them they must follow his instructions. He warns them that they will all die, but no one believes Seong's words. They think no one could die from such a trivial game. Eventually, a girl who was with Soo gets killed, and this terrifies everyone, creating chaos among them. Gunfire starts, and people begin to die. We see that Kang and her fellow soldiers are positioned in hidden spots, receiving information about the players who moved, targeting and killing them. Amidst all this, we see Kang noticing player 246, whom she knows well because he is the father of a little girl Kang used to play with and care for deeply due to her illness. Kang sympathizes with player 246 and cannot bring herself to kill him, even though he moved. After the panic subsides, everyone starts following Seong's instructions as he leads them toward the finish line. Everyone adheres to Seong's rules, except for a crazy old man who takes drugs, loses his mind, and pushes people, causing them to move and get killed for no reason. Despite all this, Seong continues giving instructions until he and the others reach the finish line, with a large number surviving thanks to him. Seong then notices an injured person on the ground. He re-enters the arena with another player to help the injured person and get him out. However, Kang shoots him because the man was supposed to die inside the game arena, and she ensures this happens, even though the bullet only hit his leg. Kang kills him to follow the rules of the game. After the game ends, the soldiers gather everyone in a hall and inform them that 91 players died in the first game. The money corresponding to their deaths is added to the prize pool displayed in the suspended globe. The amount now stands at 9 million won. The soldiers also inform everyone that if the game continues to the end, the total prize will be 456 million won, shocking everyone. Afterward, the soldiers take a vote to decide whether to stop the game or not. Seong urges everyone not to continue, explaining that he had participated in the game before and that everyone who played with him died. He pleads with them not to go through the same fate. Some players listen to Seong and vote to stop the game, while others, like a businessman named Dai, strongly oppose him. In the end, the votes are tied, leaving the final decision to player number 1. Player 1 decides to continue the game, forcing everyone to proceed. It is then revealed that player 1 is actually the mastermind behind the games, ensuring that Seong does not win. We then shift focus to Hwang, who, along with Seok, Kimo, and others, heads to Captain Park to guide them to the island where the game takes place. Upon reaching the island, they disembark and explore it, but they find no sign of the game. Instead, they discover a tracking device left behind, leading them to realize that the game organizers have shut down the device, leaving them unable to pinpoint the exact location. This frustrates everyone, but they decide not to give up and continue searching. Hwang, however, takes matters into his own hands and goes to the police station where he used to work, seeking help from his superiors to investigate the island. His superiors think he's crazy and dismiss him from his job, but Hwang remains determined to continue the search with Park, Seok, Kimo, and the team. Meanwhile, Seok questions Park about why they are so intent on finding the island. We suspect that Park is trying to extract more information from Seok, although his true intentions remain unclear. The focus then shifts back to the game, where Seong is sitting with Bai, who offers him breakfast, but Seong refuses as he has disliked Bai ever since everyone decided to continue the game. Seong warns the others that they will all die here. At this point, the leader, who is also player 1, speaks to Seong and tells him to help them if he doesn't want them to die. He asks Seong, who has played the games before, to share information about the next game to help them survive. A young man named Du joins them, introducing himself as a former Navy officer. He wants to join Seong's group and asks him to reveal the next game. Seong shares that the next game involves shapes. Each player must choose a shape, triangle, sun, or square, and then extract the shape from a honeycomb without breaking it. Seong advises everyone to choose the triangle, as it is the easiest shape. Everyone feels relieved knowing what the next game is, thanks to Seong. Later, we see Myung, the YouTuber I mentioned earlier, sitting alone, upset. Soo and another man named Gio confront him because they lost money in cryptocurrency investments Myung had promoted. They argue and attack Myung, but he fights back fiercely, stunning everyone with his strength. No one knows the source of his power, as they are unaware that he is the mastermind behind the entire game. On the same night, Myung visits Seong and shares a story about his sick wife, explaining that he joined the game to win money for her treatment. Seong sympathizes with him and believes his story. Meanwhile, the soldiers working with a doctor harvest healthy organs from deceased players. It remains unclear whether the doctor is doing this with the knowledge or consent of the game leader. He does not deal behind anyone's back, but the important thing is that currently, the soldiers find a person shot twice, once in the leg and once in the head, killing him instantly. This, of course, is prohibited. So, the soldiers report this to the assistant commander, who is currently running the game. The assistant then summons her because she was the one who shot the person twice in this manner. The two of them talk, and from their conversation, we learn that the assistant wants the people alive so that he can extract their organs. He assumes she knows this well, but despite that, she insisted on killing this person. The assistant also says he didn't expect her to disobey his orders, especially after he saved her when she escaped from North Korea after fighting an entire battalion of North Korean soldiers. Kang, of course, doesn't care at all about the assistant's words and makes it clear that she's just doing her job, nothing more. Anyway, the next day marks the start of a new game. Seongju enters the game arena with everyone, only to discover that the game has changed. It's no longer the shapes game, but a group game. The game organizers now ask everyone present to divide themselves into teams, each consisting consisting of 5 players. At this point, all the players turn on Seong-ju, including player number 100, who is very aggressive and starts a fight with Seong-ju because he doesn't understand the game. However, Seong-ju stops him, takes him aside, and leaves. Seong-ju, B, and Do form a team, but they need a 5th player, so Do goes to look for one. Meanwhile, we see a girl named Hee searching for a team. This girl is the one who went to an obstetrician and gynecologist before deciding to join the game. At this moment, Myung approaches her, and they talk. From their conversation, we learn that Myung and Hee are married and that she is pregnant with his child. However, Myung abandoned her, and she was supposed to abort the baby, but she refused to do so. Now, while still pregnant, she talks to Myung, who asks her to join his team, but she refuses because she doesn't trust him at all after he betrayed her. She then goes to Seong-ju and his team and asks to join them, and they agree. Meanwhile, Soo, Ju, and another player form a team with a boy and a girl who join them. As for Sik and the old woman, they find no one else but a team of 3 other girls, a girl named Cho, an older woman called the Shaman, which is a title in their culture, and a young girl named Min. They all join together to form a team. The game organizers then explain the new game. In summary, all team members will have their legs tied together. Each player will participate in a small game, and the team must win collectively. Every team will compete against another team of 5 players. The first team to finish will win. The first game is called Dokji, which involves 2 tiles, one on the ground and one in hand. The objective is to flip the tile on the ground using the one in hand. The second game is a stone throwing game, where players must throw a stone to knock another stone out of a designated spot. The third game is more feminine, a game of 5 stones, where players toss stones into the air and catch them all in one hand. Another game is the bee or wasp game, where a bee-like object tied to a string must be thrown and spun. After learning about the games, the players begin. 2 teams compete against each other, but because they are all tied together, the games are incredibly difficult. As a result, neither team finishes within the allotted time, leading to random gunfire killing all 10 players. This terrifies everyone, to the point where Soo takes a pill to calm himself. As the games progress, new teams enter. One team includes Sik, the old woman, Cho, the shaman, and Min. They are very anxious and unsure of what to do. However, they start with the first game, Dokji, and Min manages to win. In the second game, the stone throwing game, Sik successfully knocks the stone out of place. The third game, the 5 stones, is played by Sik's mother, who also wins. The fourth game, the bee or wasp game, is the shaman's specialty, and after a tough struggle, she wins. Finally, Cho plays the last game, which involves bouncing a ball 5 times without letting it touch the ground. She performs well and wins, securing victory for their team. Next, Soo's team competes and also wins. Many other teams compete, some winning and some losing their lives. In the end, only Seong-ju's team and another team remain. Seong-ju's team enters the arena, and he plays the first game, winning it. The second game, the stone-throwing game, is played by Bai, who wins on his first attempt. Do plays the 5 stones game and also wins. The fourth game, the bee or wasp game, is played by Ho. Although he deliberately loses a few times to appear less skilled, he eventually wins. Finally, Seong-ju plays the ball-bouncing game. He manages to bounce the ball 4 times, but it almost falls to the ground. At that moment, Ho helps Seong-ju by moving toward the ball, which touches Seong-ju's leg, allowing him to win. Seong-ju and his team exit the game victorious. However, in the Dome of Doom, the losing team is killed. After the game ends, we see that Kang goes to her place, and at that time, 2 soldiers in the game follow her, take control of her, and warn her not to interfere in their work again, which is organ trafficking. Here, we learn that the commander's assistant, who is currently running the game, is being threatened by the others. So, she agrees reluctantly, angry at their words, but compelled to comply. After the game ends and everyone returns to their forces, soldiers from the game inform them that 110 players have been eliminated. This means that the total prize money distributed among the remaining players will amount to approximately 78 million won per person. Now, the soldiers ask everyone to vote on whether they will continue the game or take their share and end it. Everyone starts voting, and the result is catastrophic, as most of those present decide to continue the game. This, of course, enrages Seong even more, but there's nothing he can do about it. The next day, we see him in the bathroom when Soo and his team come to attack him, but Seong and his group arrive and save him. Afterward, Seong informs everyone that players can kill each other at night to increase their money, as happened with Seong before, during the first game. Therefore, Seong asks everyone to create a barrier and sleep under the bed to ensure their safety. Everyone listens to Seong and follows his advice, and the day ends safely. The following day, it's time for the new game. Everyone heads to the game arena and listens to the instructions. The instructions are simple. There will be a large spinning disc on which everyone will stand. The disc will spin, and they will hear a specific number which will indicate the size of the team they need to form. Each team must quickly enter one of the designated rooms in the area to start the game. Everyone gets on the spinning disc, and it begins to rotate. We will return to them later to see what happens. Meanwhile, we return to Huang. We see that Huang team bring a second ship to divide themselves between Park's ship and the new one, allowing them to cover a larger area in their search for the island where Seong and the games are taking place. After some time, they arrive at a certain island. Huang, along with Kim and his men, descends to inspect the island, hoping it might be the one they're looking for. However, they find a landmine on the island, which explodes, killing one of them and injuring another. They quickly retreat to the ship. Soo and his team suspect that the game organizers are monitoring them or that there is a traitor among them. However, no one is convinced there's a traitor, and they believe the organizers are tracking them. Based on this, they decide to change their communication channel to avoid being intercepted and continue searching for the desired island. On the other side, we see Seong and the others on the spinning disc, and the game's rules are as follows. The disc will stop at a certain point and announce the number of team members required. Each team must then enter a room. If the team has more or fewer members than required, they will be killed. If someone remains without a team and does not enter a room, they will also be killed. The disc spins and stops, announcing the first team size. 10 members. Seong, along with Do, B, Hae, and others, forms a team with Sik, Mo, Chu, and Min. They enter a room and this round passes safely. Afterward, everyone returns to the disc, which spins again. This time, the team size is 4 members. Seong tells B, Hae, and Do to enter a room together while he looks for another team to join. They agree and do as he says. Sik, Mo, Chu, and Min leave the shaman and hide in a room, making the shaman feel betrayed. It's unclear what she plans to do after this. The disc spins again, and this time the team size is 3 members. Here, Sik shows his selfishness by leaving his mother and joining 2 others. However, Seong and B take Sik's mother and enter a room with her. The disc spins again, and this time the team size is 6 members. Seong and a few others, including Chu and Min, enter a room. At the last moment, Myung pushes Min out and takes her place, causing Min to lose and be killed. This angers Chu, leading to a fight with Myung. However, everyone understands that Myung had the right to save himself. The disc spins one final time, and the team size is announced as 2 members. Seong enters a room with B and finds another person there. He asks the person to leave, but when they refuse, Seong strangles them to death. This deeply unsettles him, making him feel uneasy. The game ends, and everyone returns to the sleeping area. The masked figures inform them that there are now exactly 100 players left in the game. The prize money is currently 300 million won per person. They conduct a vote to decide whether to continue or stop the game. This time, the vote is split evenly, 50-50. The soldiers announce that they will leave the decision until the next day and conduct another vote. Meanwhile, Myung approaches Hae, trying to reconcile and convince her that they should get married and raise their child if they leave the game. However, she doesn't trust him and rejects his words. Later, it's revealed that they've added something to their food trays, possibly to incite fights at night. This frightens Seong, as he realizes the organizers are trying to provoke chaos. The situation escalates, becoming more brutal and chaotic, confirming Seong's fears. Soo and Jiwoo approach someone who voted to stop the game and try to persuade him to change his decision in the next vote, the new one. Here, Myung arrives and sees them, trying to stop them, but Sujio, as I told you, has problems with Myung, so they don't listen to him and instead escalate the situation further. Consequently, many people who are completely against the game join Myung to confront Sujio. In turn, Sujio gathers many supporters who want the game to continue, and they clash with Myung and his group. From here, chaos ensues, and everyone starts fighting each other. Soo manages to take down Myung and continues to strangle him. Myung then pulls out a sharp object and stabs Soo in the neck in a shocking scene for everyone. Soo dies, and finally, everyone is relieved of his trouble. After that, everyone starts killing each other in a bloody scene full of chaos. But after a while, soldiers arrive to regain control of the situation and send everyone back to the sleeping quarters. Here, Seong and everyone else are surprised to discover that there was a battle between those who want the game to continue and those who want it to stop. Let's call these 2 groups from now on the supporters and the opponents. After everyone is returned to the sleeping quarters, the leader of the supporters starts counting how many of their members have died and discovers that 3 of them are dead. On the other hand, Seong and his group count their losses and find out that only 2 of their members have died. This makes everyone happy because they now believe they can win the vote and stop the game. But Seong has a different opinion. Seong informs everyone that the matter doesn't end here, and that the supporters will attack them again at night to finish them off, so they must be prepared. One of them suggests attacking the supporters first, but Seong refuses. He tells everyone that their problem is not with the supporters, but with the game administration. They need to attack the head of the game, the main leader, whose location is known only to Seong and another person. Everyone agrees with Seong, including the one who suggested the initial attack, and they start planning. Not long after, the lights go out for everyone to sleep. But Firen and Wyden do not sleep. Instead, they attack many of the opponents allied with Seong. Meanwhile, Seong and his close allies, Do, B, and Cho, along with others, deliberately lie under their beds, waiting for the right moment. They avoid the initial fight that breaks out. Later, the lights come back on and the soldiers arrive to assess the situation. Seong and his group pretend to be dead, only to suddenly attack the soldiers and seize their weapons. This was all part of Seong's plan. They continue attacking the soldiers, taking their weapons and firing back until many soldiers are killed, forcing the rest to retreat. However, one soldier is unable to retreat, and Seong and his group overpower him. Seong then orders his people to gather all the weapons dropped by the fallen soldiers. He addresses both the supporters and the opponents, explaining that he doesn't want to harm anyone, because his battle is solely with the game administration and its soldiers, not with them. Seong asks anyone capable of using a weapon to join him. Some people, including Do, B, Cho, and player 246, whom Kang knows, join him, while many others, including some opponents, refuse. Seong doesn't care about this and instead forces the captured soldier to lead them out of the base. The soldier reluctantly agrees, but just as they are about to escape, more soldiers appear, leading to one of the fiercest battles yet. The captured soldier is killed during this confrontation. At this point, Seong orders his friend B to search for the entrance to the administration's headquarters. Seong stays behind with Do, Cho, and others to fight the soldiers. The place where Seong and B head to is also guarded by soldiers, and a fierce gunfight breaks out. After a long battle, Seong and B manage to find a few people willing to help them. However, B betrays them because he is actually working for the game leader and doesn't want their rebellion to succeed. Meanwhile, Cho and her group start losing the fight and run out of ammunition. Cho asks Do to look for more ammo. Do finds some, but suffers a breakdown and returns to the sleeping quarters instead of helping Cho. Cho, realizing Do is taking too long, leaves her group to find him. She discovers Do sitting in the sleeping quarters with the ammo. She takes it and tries to return to the fight, but by then, the soldiers have already stormed the quarters in overwhelming numbers. The soldiers confront Cho and demand she surrender her weapon to avoid being killed. She complies. Meanwhile, player 246 and a few others are waiting for Cho to bring the ammo, but they run out of ammunition and are forced into dire situations. One of them commits suicide, while player 246 and a few others surrender, only to be executed by the soldiers. The soldiers continue hunting down everyone until they reach Seong and B. The soldiers are accompanied by the game leader and his assistant, both wearing masks to conceal their identities. The leader tells Seong that playing the hero comes with consequences. Without warning, the leader kills B, leaving Seong devastated. Seong tries to attack the leader, but the soldiers restrain him. He breaks down, mourning his friend B. With this, the rebellion led by Seong is crushed. The last scene shows Hwang, Seok, and Kim's men searching for the island. One night, one of Kim's men catches Park using a drone to locate the island and destroy it. Realizing Park is a traitor working for the game, the man tries to report him, but Park kills him and throws his body into the water. This confirms that Park is indeed a traitor and that his past actions, such as saving Hwang, were orchestrated by the game leader, who didn't want his brother Hwang to die. Park also helps Hwang escape the island to keep him away from the game and its secrets. And with this strange and shocking twist, the season ends. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to get more new videos. See you next time.